Okay, for sure. Okay,
I have a quick comment.
yeah,
I was kind of wondering about that because we're on October 11th, the chamber is sponsoring Fiesta Owen County. And that's, the Latin American population that works at Boston and Cook.
yeah.
And I don't know, I'm kind of a little worried
Yeah.
that people won't come or, so.
Where's that gonna be?
It's just downtown Spencer, close off the street, so maybe our presence might be.
I think our president, wear your cell phones and know your rights. And if I see it happening in Spencer, we're gonna have a exciting time.
What's the date?
Because they're gonna-
That's October 11th.
Yeah.
From 2 to 8 at night.
That,
Bill, what was his line, like, what were his exact?
I'm sorry, what
What
was
was his exact?
his exact words is I will enforce the laws of Owen County. That was his exact. But he also said they won't be taking kids out of school. And I said, they're doing it now in other places. And he didn't respond. But we had a reasonable conversation. But I just want him to know that I expect this.
Okay.
So I do think that when this thing happens in town, you've got workers from who are immigrants and so forth, we ought to be there. And we ought to make, if ICE ever comes to Spencer, I hope they don't just come in here without somebody raising hell.
Yeah.
I'll be glad to be with you. Okay. I think so. I got another thing. Special guest, Vice Potter. I have a conviction that anybody with the courage to throw their name in these times that want to run to change things in our state, or our county, or our country, they can have a few minutes of our time. So welcome, Vice, time for Secretary of State, and God knows we need a Secretary.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I got to meet Bill and a few of you on an IDEA. My name is Blythe Potter. I live in Johnson County. I'm born and raised a Hoosier. I'm an Army veteran. I was an MP. I know there's at least one other veteran here. Thank you for your service. I was a bodyguard for General George Casey in Iraq from 2005 to 2006. I've got 2 adult stepdaughters. I've got a 5-year-old. I'm a small business owner, and I am so pissed at what is happening right now that I've decided to run against Diego Morales potentially. So the biggest thing is we do not have enough representation of Democratic voices, of women's voices, of logical voices in our state house. For me in Johnson County, do you guys have Democrats that are elected here? Do you have Democrats in Owen County? Okay. Okay, well, we're going to work on that. That's part of my platform is not only getting to all 92 counties. I have almost 35,000 followers on my social media platforms. So I want to help counties and clubs build their following. And Colin is doing an amazing job. I see him on TikTok. He is killing it. He's the reason I'm here tonight. He got me in touch with Bill. But also social media, it can be scary, but it can be a really good force for change that is free. We can help get candidates, and we can also help get PCs. So if you need me at any time, any one of you to promote an event or something or help get people to do something, let me know. I love the call to action to write a letter to your sheriff. I think all counties need to be doing that. So I'm going to be taking that with me tonight and telling everyone to do that in their counties as well. The Democrats don't do a good job of communicating with one another. And I think part of that is because historically we just haven't had to, but it's gotten to the point where we need to. And I think social media is a very free and easy way to do that. So if you happen to be on any platform, make sure you're following Owen County. Make sure you're following Indiana Democratic Party. Even if we disagree with what's happening on the state level, we still need to support them because following them will push the algorithm out to tell your neighbors and your friends, there is a local party in Owen County, there is a state party, and we are in the 2-party system we're stuck in, we are the only way out of this mess, the Democrats. I'm not so sure our elected Democrats are going to help us that much, but I think we can. And you guys are showing up doing that with your activism. I'm an activist at heart. I have been my whole life. I'm an organizer. I'm a chapter lead for an organization called Bitches Get Stuff Done. You know, women, when we use our mouths, we're either bossy or we're bitchy, and well, we're owning it now. So it's fun. It's fun. So that's part of this, is to help connect people and to talk. I will need delegates at the state convention next year. The date has been set for June 6th. So it is a Saturday. I would love to see all of you there. It is a great time. Same with the protests. It's really nice to be around like-minded people. I don't feel that a lot around Johnson County, but it's been really nice to see that happening at protests. So keep up the good work. As far as Secretary of State, we really need to clean up that office. It is a hot mess. We need to get rid of the no-bid contracts. We've got to stop with the unrestricted travel. And most importantly, we are 50 out of 51 for voter turnout in this state, and it's atrocious. Of course, we could use more registered voters, but we need to get people to the polls. The Secretary of State oversees the elections. We need every eligible voter and every registered voter to have something in their hands before the election that says whether or not they're registered, how they can update registration if they need to, who is on their ballot, where their polling locations are, and when the election day is. Some counties do that. I've learned as I'm doing this that a few counties are on top of it. Does Owen do that? Okay, neither does Johnson County. And I would like to see that changed. I would love to see the ability to take some of the funding that the Secretary of State's office has and empower our county clerks to get that information to voters. Now, do I think that a Democrat going into office and talking to a bunch of Republican clerks about that is going to work right off the bat? Maybe not. So if it doesn't, then we do what many other states are doing, and we have a voter handbook. We send that out to people before the elections. That way we can have nonpartisan information about who is on their ballot. Republicans in Johnson County, they don't have to have social media presence. They don't have to have a platform because they have an R by their name. So they are automatically going to win. It doesn't matter how much work we have put forward. And I think right now it's our time as Democrats. And people showing up to meetings like this, showing up to events, showing up at the polls, showing up on the ballots is important. And if you have ever even a tiny bit thought about maybe running for office, I want to let you know that recently in Johnson County, one of our commissioners, we had a whole county council and commissioner meeting to talk about the budget and how the Senate Bill 1 is going to affect the county. Well, part of Senate Bill 1 reducing our property taxes by about $300 a year means that our counties are going to have to increase our local income taxes. Now, the people on our board, all Republicans, all sitting there for well over 10 years, leaned over to the person speaking to give them this information and said, now, when our constituents ask us who is to blame for our income taxes going up, who do we tell them? It's the Republicans, right? They did this. Braun did this. Your state legislature did this. So if most of you already know what damage the Republicans are doing, you can put your names on that ballot, and you're already going to go in there knowing more about our legislative session this past year than anyone you're contending. So you are able to do this. Even if it's just a name on a ballot to be opposition, like they were saying before, your neighbors will come out to vote for you. Your family will come out to vote for you. Even if it's only 7 votes and you don't win, having a reason for people to go and be able to pull a Democratic ballot in May, on May 5th, and then vote again in November and have some faith that things might change for the better, I think it's worthwhile. So that is all. I'm here for questions. I'm happy to take those now if we have time. I'm also happy to wait until afterwards. And I also want to hear what you guys think would be the best ways to get in touch with voters going forward. As the Secretary of State, how am I reaching those rural counties? I'm in Johnson County, pretty rural area. I know you guys are in some of those rural areas as well. So as you think about this, and it doesn't have to be now, feel free to send me ideas. I know billboards are out there. We can see billboards and things like that. But how are we reaching our most vulnerable people who are losing PBS, who are losing NPR, who may not have access to internet, who may not have access to cable, who for some reason, thank God, maybe not on Twitter or Facebook or in the algorithm of we're just going to vote R. So that is all. Any questions for me? Yes.
Can you just explain a little bit about what the Secretary of State office
Yep.
does?
Mostly the Secretary of State oversees the elections. So they are in charge of the elections. They also oversee securities, the NBIZ website, which is where, as a business owner, I went to go get my LLC. There are other documents and things on there as well. I have a master's in business administration that focused on conscious capitalism. So what I want to do with that portion of it is not only make the NBIZ website a little more easy to navigate, I want to put free resources on there to have more sustainable businesses. Indiana is bottom of the barrel for environment. And our businesses affect our environment, where we get things from, what kind of energy sources we're using. So I want to use that knowledge and probably get some people who are a little bit smarter than me in that to get in there and just have some free resources for business owners or people who want to do or manage businesses more sustainably. They also oversee car dealerships. Yes.
There have been some changes in election law this year as regards voter access. Would you like to talk about those a little bit, what you'd like to see happen?
Yes. So the SAVE Act is still on the table, the last I checked, which the SAVE Act may or may not take away my right to vote because my name on my driver's license and my passport doesn't match the name on my birth certificate. They are also wanting to, supposedly there's an executive order going out to take away mail-in ballots. Governor Braun loves Donald Trump a little bit too much for my liking, so I could see that being a risk for us. And as Democrats, it's going to be important right now that we start telling people May 5th is the election. May 5th is the election. If we need to ask off work, we need to start doing that right now because we may, I don't even know if we're going to have an election next year. Like, I get very worried about that. But voter access will be further restricted. And I believe some counties are even like reducing hours and things like that. If there's more that I've missed, please let me know.
I don't know if it matters to people here, you know, but student IDs are no
Yes,
longer
you're right. Student IDs are no longer valid. Yep, I forgot about that. Thank you. And that's an issue with the legislature. Unfortunately, as Secretary of State, I couldn't change that, but I am very good at being persistent and being a pain in the ass. So I will work very hard to try to get them to do that because an educated voting population and people it should be a human right. We are in the United States of America. A human right should include education, food, safe water, safe air, safe housing, and the right to vote. It should be, right? It is literally the Democratic Party values very much align with the teachings of Jesus. And for a Christian state and a Christian country to not agree with that is so perplexing to me. I thought I saw another hand. Yes.
Let's say that out loud again about the SAVE Act.
Yes.
And what it's going to do to all of the women in this room.
Yep. So my understanding of it as it stands now is the SAVE Act would only affect, please correct me if I'm wrong, there's a lot to remember with what's happening in this environment. It would affect updating voter registration and new voter registration. So to the best of my knowledge, if it's passed from the Senate, all of us in here who are currently registered to vote at our addresses, which please check it monthly. I don't trust these bozos. I don't trust them for anything. They purged 585,000 voters last October. Diego Morales is doing it again. An immigrant is purging another 585,000 voter registrations of immigrants. Make that make sense? I cannot do it, but it is worth checking. Fortunately, most of us in here will likely have the resources to figure out if we need to change our birth certificates, but a big majority of the population is not going to. And a large population of our state may not even know that this is still even a possibility. We are plugged in, and I think one of the very small good things about things being so chaotic now is it's starting to hurt the people who voted for this and who have not thought they needed to be plugged into what's happening in government. So hopefully we can start sharing that information.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Question. So you had talked about trying to reach people in a different way now, because a lot of the resources are going away.
Yep.
One resource that's gone away are the small town newspapers, which used to have
Yes.
all of that information. It's sad how it's disappeared. But you mentioned some things, the mailers, what other things for certain populations have you guys been thinking about how you're going to reach this information out to people now?
Mostly, I think I don't like to say using the mail. Of course, I want to support the United States Postal Service, but paper and gas, those are resources. But I think initially that will be the best way to do it because I do foresee the county clerks, particularly Republican county clerks, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope Republicans shock us next year and start to come to their senses and realize like this is not what our country should be like. But I think right now, other than in social media, expressing liberal voices. TikTok may or may not even be around that much longer. So I think the biggest thing will unfortunately be using the mail service and some very strategic billboards on rural areas that have busier driving sources.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Reach out anytime. I've got cards over here. And